Hi, this is Brett Senkis, the Right Brain Business Attorney. Today we're talking about the reasons that you need a partnership or founders agreement. There's four big ones, and the one that most people think is the most important is actually the least important. So the reason I'm thinking about this today is a few days ago I was talking to someone who's going into business with a family member, a very, very close family member, and we were talking about the need for a partnership agreement, and this person said, well, I don't think we need that. You know, we would never ever sue each other. Like, we'll figure it out. And there would just never be a reason to have an agreement we need to enforce. And we know what our deal is with each other. So, okay, I can certainly imagine that there's people in the world that I'd be in business with that I would never ever sue. That's just hard to imagine that ever coming to that. I think you have to be careful if this is your mindset, because family members end up in lawsuits together. People who love each other end up hating each other. I wish it weren't so, but business often has a way, money has a way of becoming a priority and affecting relationships. It's just how it goes. So I think you have to be very careful of telling yourself that would never happen when a lot of other people have said that and they end up in that situation. But let's just say this is a person that you would never ever in a million years be in that situation and have an agreement that you need to enforce, okay? That's the fourth most important reason to have a partnership agreement or a founder's agreement or any business contract, by the way. So that is a reason, but if you get to the point of needing to enforce an agreement, things have gone really, really wrong. And even lawyers who are litigators will tell you that litigation is a lose-lose. No one ends up happy. It's a really brutal process. You know, we are really hoping we never get to that point, and that's where these other three reasons come up. So the fourth reason, again, is to have an agreement to enforce if it comes to that. The first most important reason is to be sure you and your partners talk everything through. So having a process going through, needing to commit things to paper, the decisions you need to make when you work with someone like me, a corporate lawyer, to talk through all the different things that need to go into a partner's agreement are things that you might not think about otherwise, you might not bring up, you wouldn't ever have talked about until they come up. So this process, I hand out something like 4 dozen questions to new clients, just all these things. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And those are things that they work through together, in most the time these founders haven't talked those things through. So number one is to be sure that you talk through all the important and even the very important things you've probably talked through, but also the relatively important and even the more minor stuff. It's really important to talk through all those questions, and the process of needing to get things on paper makes you do that. The second most important reason is to know you have a meeting of the minds. So it's real easy for people to talk and talk past each other and to think they're hearing each other. But putting things down on paper has often will crystallize and clarify things. So when you take it from, hey, we agree that this is how we're going to make a decision, and then a corporate attorney who's good at what they do is going to make it in very clear, well, there might be a little bit of legalese, but it's going to be clearly stated. There's not going to be a lot of room for ambiguity or miscommunication once it gets put on paper. So that's the reason that that's the second most important reason to have a partnership agreement. The third most important reason is to have a very clear record of what you decided. And the reason for this is that we are human and we're emotional and flawed, and we're just in the mind is not it's a work of art, and people often misremember, and some of them do it intentionally, but we all do it unintentionally. Just happens. Our memories are not nearly as perfect as most people think, and there's been a lot of data and studies about that. So when you put things down on paper, you avoid that whole misremembering thing. No, we spoke about that. Here's what we agreed to. So again, those are the 4 reasons. The least important is to have something to fight it out in court. So even if you're going to business with your mother, right, you still should take the time to put together a great partnership founders agreement to work through every question, to clarify and be really crystal clear that you agree on all those issues and avoid any issues of misremembering. Hopefully you're never in court with your mom, but again, that's the fourth and least most important reason. So that applies to all business contracts, not just partnership and founder agreements, but it's particularly important in that space. I'm interested in what you think about that. Certainly drop me a line, put a comment below. Thanks for stopping by today.